Oh hey everybody, it's Jay from Simple Woods Life, and here we are, video number 2. So I've hiked on out snowshoed actually, because the it's still quite deep, and it's somewhat crunchy, but you keep falling through. I've fallen through in the snowshoes, but I mean just out in boots would be, just in your boots. You gotta walk out in your boots, you don't want to be in your boots. So anyway, I've snowshoed on out to the sugar bush, small little area that we've got at the far end our property, and we're gonna tap some trees, and it's a pretty straightforward process. There's not a lot to it, and it's easy and it's fun. You know, if you can be entertained by simple things, it's a lot of fun. Tapping a maple tree is gonna blow your freaking mind. If you're into, you know, an Oculus headset and all 3D VR, you know, you're probably not even watching this video. So in the last video, we talked about what you'd need to get started. A bucket, a lid, a spile, some kind of drill, and a little tippity tappiter. Now, you know, you can use a hammer, but remember, this is called tapping trees, not hammering trees. I've got this beautiful DeWalt. It doesn't sound good anymore, does it? I've built, my goodness, no less than 4 decks, bunky woodshed, all kinds of garden structures, and I've used this poor little household drill, even with like one of those, you know, socket attachments to be driving through bolts. So I think I've fried her. She's good for doing, you know, basic household needs. So I've got, that's a 20 kilowatt. I've got my little 12er, but I don't trust that she's gonna go for the long haul. So I've also got the old school drill that I found in my grampy's toolbox. So it doesn't matter what you've got as long as you've got yourself a way to drill a hole into a tree. Take a look at whatever spile you purchased. Mine's 7/16, so I have a 7/16 drill bit. I'm just using a wood drill bit here. There are maple syrup drill bits that slightly different angle on the top to, I guess, get into frozen lumber. And whatever you call it, the corkscrew is a different sort of shape or angle or something to get more shavings out. But they all work. They all work. One thing you might want to do, just for giggles, clean these with a bit of bleach and water, and that, not the drill, the bit, and then really rinse it well and dry it off. Just because, you know, you're drilling a hole into a living thing. So you want to tap, right? You want to tap when the days are above 0 Celsius and the nights are below 0 Celsius. And like, you know, -5, -10 at night, +5, +6 during the day, awesome, especially sunny, non-windy days, sunny, calm days, I suppose I could have said, and you're doing awesome. If you can, perfect world, you want to tap on the south side, because that's where the tree is going to get a lot of sun and it's going to heat right up. You want to be up about 4 feet off the ground. You want to make sure that you're not working, you know, into any sort of branches or things like that. And then you want to stay away from last year's tap holes or any previous year's tap holes, because the sap just won't flow there, right? So stay a couple of inches away from them. And then when you do drill in, you're going to drill up just a little bit of an angle. Nothing to do with the sap falling out, more to do with making sure the water doesn't get in there when you pull the tap, so you can have the tree heal itself back up, right? It doesn't have to be 4 feet, it can be 3 feet, it can be, you know, but just sort of in that range. I'm close to 9 feet tall, so I'm going to tap down here, which would be like 4 feet to you guys, assuming you're an average height of, say, 5'7", 5'8", which I think, personally, I think is really tall. So we're just gonna go on a little bit of an angle, and we're gonna try and make sure our snowshoes don't send us over TCAM, yeah? So here I am, I'm south facing, I got my drill, probably not gonna make it through, I'm gonna have to get my grandpa's drill out. And I'm gonna go here, which I think is just a beauty spot, just a beauty. Yeah. So we'll break open the old drill. Now pay attention when you're drilling this out to the shavings that come out of there. You want them to be white. You know, if they're dark and they're punky and they're like, you know, like like the color of chili, that's not a good spot of the tree to be tapping in, right? You want it to be nice and white, more like a nice slice of fresh baked white bread. Huh? Isn't that lovely? Your whole kitchen smells nice, right? So we'll tap in and we just go in. I've got a little bit of tape here on my drill bit. You don't want to go super deep, better an inch past the bark. So about 2 inches there in total. We've got our spile. You'll put that in, give it a bit of a push, and then tap, not hammer. That's enough. Now there should be enough pressure in here that that's just gonna kaploop, and then it'll start tippy tipping. And there you go. And isn't that a lovely noise? And that's all there is to tapping trees, okay? That's it, that's all there is to it. When you're selecting your maple tree, ideally you want to be about 10 inches in diameter, right? You measure with a tape or with a string and then use a tape measure to measure how big the string is. That's your circumference. Divide that by pi, 3.14, and that's going to be your diameter. We do have some maples around here that are smaller than that. We don't care, they're sort of junk maples at the edge of the forest, but if it's your prized maple on your front lawn, you want to make sure it's going to be nice and healthy. So minimum's 10 inches, and this Mama Jama here is. Now, this is solid, but you see here, the bark is a little, I wouldn't tap that part there, because the tree's obviously had some distress. So let that be 4 feet up, couple inches away from a previous tap hole, and southern exposure, and you're sorted out. That's how simple it is to tap. And then all you've got to do is sort of pay attention to the weather and come check your buckets. And that's tapping.
Another one, another one, another one, another one, and another one.
Yeah, that's it. The next video, we're going to be collecting, storing, and then starting our first boil. So what do you need for that? Well, you need the large 5-gallon buckets. Like I mentioned before, Canadian Tire has them, Home Hardware, I think any hardware store is going to have the big 5-gallon buckets. Try and make sure they're food safe, and make sure they've got a lid. You're going to want to have some kind of place where you can store them. Maybe your garage is cool. We've still got snow, so we're going to build like a little berm up back in a shaded spot in the woodlot, and we'll store them there in the snow. Just because we're not going to be collecting and boiling same day. We store all of our sap, and then when we have a boil, we boil as much as we feel like that day, and then we'll filter it, put it into a pot, and store that in a cool place, usually in the garage with the lid on. And then the next boil we have, we'll be using fresh sap again, and towards the end of that process, we'll mix the sap that we had previously boiled. So, you know, it's kind of a, we amalgamate. What we do is we amalgamate. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. That's all. Wasn't that simple? Wasn't that fun? What a lovely time we had. You and me in the woods together, tapping trees. Thanks for coming out, and we'll speak with you real soon. If you got any questions, throw them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Not an expert, brah. But you know, look at that. Tippity tap tap. Tippity tap of the maples.